It's recording.
Oh, do you want to get a?
I'll put it in hand.
No, I think we'll just not do the warning.
No, can we do a 2:30 warning?
If you really want to, actually most kids didn't need it. Almost everyone stayed within the time limit last time. Yeah, I mean, yeah, take off something. Okay, all right. Let's.
All right.
Do you want to 2:30? Do you want?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have another few. No, you only have 30 seconds left. Okay. All right. Go.
All right. Hello.
Hi.
So, what would you picture as an animal? When you go to buy a pet, do you expect to see, say, dogs, cats, fish, and those sort of pets? Or would you expect something weird? Something that's weird, something not natural, something that's been genetically modified so that it's not an actual, say, organic creature. Sorry, the transitions are a little messed up. So, would you picture more of a real animal, say, real plants, real dogs and cats, those sort of creatures? Or would you picture something more scientific, not natural, born through natural creation, such as some mystery thing? So the first organism that I'm going to talk about today is genetically modified salmon, which when the genetic modification process of the salmon, it's essentially a living collection of different DNA strands, so that the DNA from another fish called ocean pout is inserted into a normal salmon, and this ocean pout DNA allows it to grow 2 times the size in half the time. Basically, since the fish is growing so much quicker, when it grows so much quicker, they're able to sell it quicker, and the fish also, they're able to produce it year-round, so they're able to get higher net profits. And my second organism that has been mostly genetically modified are apples and potatoes. Basically, you know when you come to an apple, after a while, the white meat of the apple goes brown. Whereas in these apples, they don't brown, they stay natural. They stay naturally white, they don't spoil. This offers the apples longer shelf life, offering better market prices. In the US, genetic modification has mostly been on board, whereas in the EU, the government more agrees with the people in finding genetic modification weird, and they don't authorize it. And my moral problem is I believe in natural solutions, so I would prefer to keep it natural and pristine. To tie it back to Ishmael, I believe in not playing God, because as we sort of are creating species, we're sort of playing God's part, whereas he created species himself, and God does not play dice with the universe. Thank you.
Okay. 3:20. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So just bring it to me later. Yeah. Just leave it. Okay, hold on a second. Sorry, guys. Do you have slides as well?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to actually show her how to go out how to do that. Well, let's just
No, actually, I think it's fine.
Plug it in and then hit the next to the shift key. It'll tell you what to do.
It's watch Peter try to open that up.
And then
Somehow has to relate that chart.
So his hand is too greasy.
Oh, maybe.
That's nasty.
Well, we can talk about it later.
It's nasty stuff, man.
Nasty. Ishmael's a character from Moby Dick.
Wait, what?
You guys.
Okay, start off your own.
Talk.
From what we've evidenced from this class, as well as from the news we consistently hear, human beings show a corrupted side. A side that is unable to feel compassion, be it for their surroundings, their fellow men, or for their fellow animals. One such animal facing compassionless torture by humans is the elephant. A creature which scientists have observed to be able to feel deep emotion, akin to that felt by humans. Indeed, sorrow, anger, happiness, pain, these aren't only emotions humans can feel, but also elephants. However, this deep capacity for emotion only works to induce more pain upon the elephants as they're consistently tortured. In Africa, 35,000 elephants die every year. Elephants experiencing the brunt of poaching operations in Africa are likely to be brutally taken down with spears, poison-laced fruit, or machine guns. Then, when it comes down to obtaining ivory, poachers use axes to hack down the tusks of elephants, whether dead or alive. Conservationists have estimated that massive illegal poaching operations in Africa may extinct African elephants in the next 4 years. That's by 2020. However, the world does not stop and turn to examine the plight of the elephants, and the ivory for which they are being killed is growing in demand. And while the situation may be grim in Africa, Asian elephants are not experiencing a better fate. Asian elephants are treated to severe physical and emotional trauma caused by their enslavement by Asian tourism industries, as well as habitat loss brought on by growing human populations. Asian tourism industries see that elephants are trained to become circus clowns or are used to be rode on, completely overriding their natural nature. Commonly, elephants will be subdued for training through the crawl, a blood-curdling process used by elephant trainers that locks freshly captured elephants in a cage and works to break their soul through verbal and physical torture. However, what is important to remember in all of this is that hope still exists, and for the elephant's sake, it is very easy to accomplish. All we, the rich 1%ers who go for expensive vacations in Asia, must do is stop supporting tourism damaging the Asian elephants. And this does not mean we have to limit our interactions with them either. We can support ecotourism measures. I myself, on interim, went to an ecotourism facility for elephants run by Lek Chilhart called Elephant Nature Park, and I saw the beauty and majesty of free elephants. Wouldn't you like to experience that? I mean, why do we want to see these animals enslaved in the first place? What gives us pleasure to do them something that overrides what they have been, by nature, been told to do? To save African elephants, we must communally just stop buying ivory. As we can see, the answers are simple. If only humans try a little bit to fix the world's problems, we have it in us to triumph. But if we falter, waver, stop our convictions to change the world, we will sit inside our homes and watch the world burn outside. Thank you.
To be honest, I'm kind of screwed. But yeah.
Strike Chris.
Chris, I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Wait, Chris, do you want this?
No, I have one slide.
Other side.
That's it.
It's not sharp.
Hello everyone. Imagine a world where domesticated animals and crops are made in factories. Imagine a world where life forms are man-made. This is what the world will look like if we continue to develop genetic modification. According to Ishmael, genetic engineering is just one of the many ways that we break the laws of the world. Through genetic engineering, we are gaining control over who shall live and who shall die. We are playing God, thinking that we can just pedal harder to solve our problems when we are just creating harder problems to solve in the future. These genetically modified organisms that we create can spread through nature and interbreed with natural organisms, destroying an ecosystem forever. An example is the superweed that was created by cross-contamination between genetically created weeds and normal weeds. This led to these superweeds being able to survive the application of weed killers. The US has a surprisingly 61.2 million acres of land with high amounts of superweeds. This is an astonishingly 61 million football fields put together. These weeds take away all the soil in the ground and make the land so barren that crops and plants cannot be grown. Do you know what happens when these genetically modified organisms begin to have harmful effects? These organisms can never be taken back. They will stay in the ecosystem and continue to destroy the other organisms. Look out the window. Everything out there will be gone if we continue to develop genetic modification. Some of you might ask, don't genetic modified foods feed the world? Well, you are certainly right there. But have you thought about the consequences of eating these foods? Look at the picture on the bottom left. This is what the chicken looked like originally, and this is what it looks like after being genetically modified. You wouldn't feel right about changing penguins to allow them to fly, right? Why is it right to make chickens fatter and heavier so that there's more profit for each chicken? Have you ever wondered what would happen if scientists found out that they could genetically modify humans? Imagine rich men creating clones so that they could take the clone's organs and allow them to live forever, being immune to all cancers. Do you think this is morally correct? Imagine people genetically modify the DNA of embryos to make them super smart, or super athletic, or even both. Do you think this is morally correct? This will not just generate a new race of superhumans, it will destroy our entire human civilization. We may be able to produce products for money, but we cannot do this for life. When we force animals, plants, and even humans to become factory products, we are playing God. To make sure genetic modification is not developed, we must stand up to the scientists in the world to advocate them not to develop this potentially harmful and inhumane technology. Thank you. Oh, my.
According to the UN, if everyone on the planet lived the lifestyles we live, the world could only sustain less than 1/3 of the current global population. I believe we are capable of sustaining a population of 11 billion, but in order to do so, people must pay the true costs of the goods and services they consume, urbanize civilization, and educate future generations on this matter. One of the best examples of this is that airfare is extremely cheap right now, despite the rising threat of global warming due to carbon emissions. Everyone is flying everywhere because the private cost is less than the social and environmental cost. This is because when private companies sell plane tickets, they do not factor in the harm on the environment into the ticket price, so people aren't paying for the damage they are doing. It isn't until the social cost is greater than the environmental cost that true change will happen. This can be enacted by governments placing a tax which ultimately reduces the quantity of the service and creates funds which can then be used in protecting the environment instead. I think this is similar to Quinn's belief that we learn to live by the laws of nature, but since nature itself can't create its laws, I believe it's the role of the government. Another extreme problem right now is meat production. According to Harvard sociobiologist Edward Wilson, all the world's arable land can sustain 10 billion vegetarians, but only 2.5 billion omnivores. This is because meat such as beef takes far more resources to produce than grains and vegetables. As human beings, we have the option of living as vegetarians, so why not exercise it? The key to this balance is that taxes can cause the cost of meat to rise, so less people will eat it, but cannot be raised too high, as then the market will shrink. This is how the economy helps build a sustainable future. Researchers at the Santa Fe Institute have broken down and analyzed hundreds of cities, and through this believe that urbanization is the best option for sustainability. Living in close proximity to one another makes goods and services more accessible, and it also much easier to provide education to people in urban areas than those who live in rural places. Hans Rosling showed us that the future population growth is not coming from the haves, but rather the have-nots. In order to make sure these future people do not grow up in extreme poverty, I believe the first step is migration to urban areas. The main cause which prevents this positive change from happening are political boundaries. Countries with resources and space should allow people to immigrate, but instead we are currently too prefixed on issues such as race and religion. I think the answer to this is educating people on this concept, thus creating movement on this idea for an urbanized future. If you're wondering what you as a 9th grade HKS student can do, think about how, unlike many other people in the world, we have the luxury of being able to limit ourselves. For example, we all live in Hong Kong and are blessed with inexpensive and convenient public transportation. Why not take it? There is nothing stopping you from reducing your carbon footprint and taking the bus. Also, we can all limit our own meat consumption and still live a healthy life, so why not try it? The last thing I have to say is that we've been given this incredible gift of an amazing education. So use your knowledge of what you've learned now to build yourself and the rest of the world an environmentally friendly future. Majority of my solutions are huge global strategies, so our world needs future leaders to acknowledge and solve these problems. Thank you.
Is there time on that? 3:20. All right, guys. So we didn't get to about what?
6 of
Okay, 6 of us. So you are spared,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about it all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Want it.
So I'm not going to give you any homework this weekend specifically. You can